الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وإذ أخذ ربك من بني آدم من ظهورهم ذريته وأشهدهم على أنفسهم ألست بربكم قالوا بلى شهدنا أن تقول يوم القيامة إنا كنا عن هذا غافلين. I've just recited this verse to start today's talk, inshallah, and we are still in the subject of intellect and what is intellect and how people are different in their intellect. Not everybody has the same level of intellect. And now we'll pass to a subject which is very much related to because we are coming close to the chapter, which is the next chapter, and that is about the foundations of faith. Kitab Qawaid al-Aqaid. So this is connecting this part of ilm and aql to the faith and belief. And this is the part today is very important in this regard. And here, actually, we just go back and see that about the aql, Imam Ghazali mentioned that there are 4 types or 4 definitions, and they are all there. They all mean the aql, but they are different in their presentation. So the first, which is, you can say, the inherent ability of acquiring analytical knowledge. That was the first. And remember that when we say analytical knowledge, it is different from the essential knowledge, which he has mentioned also. Uloom al-Daruriyah. That means that things which a person at a certain age, even the child at a certain age, he starts realizing what is right, what is wrong, what is possible, what is impossible, you see, and things like that. That is, which was defined as number 2. That is called aql as well. But that is a knowledge which you can say springs out in the childhood, in the very beginning of recognizing certain facts and realizing what is right and what is wrong, and what is, you can say, also good or what is bad, what is possible, what is impossible. So those basic knowledge, as we were given the examples, I'm not going back into that. So this is the basic knowledge. And then, so the first was the inherent ability to acquire analytical knowledge. What's analytical knowledge? That you use the information in front of you, which you have already, and then you think about it, and that's what is called, sometimes you call it logical knowledge, that you get it logically. This is logical consequence of, if this is this and this is this, then this should be this. That type of knowledge, and this is present in the initial, in the ability which was given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to every individual, that ability, the inherent ability of acquiring knowledge. That is through analytical knowledge, you will say. The second one was essential knowledge, which it springs out by itself at a certain age of time, in the very early. Then the third thing was that a person acquires knowledge through experience and interactions with other people, other ideas, other situations, which is also called as aql. But this is all our knowledge. The third one, or the fourth one, which is the most important of all, which is called that the person recognizes the consequence of doing something. This is the real aqil, the real intelligent person who recognizes the consequence of any action, any talk, or any action. So that's the real aqil. I mean, it's the top quality of the aqil. And that is where a person doesn't go by his just desire or wish or immediate interest, but he looks into the consequences of his actions and deeds. But this is all in intellect, and in all of this, the human beings are different except one, number 2, in which it springs by itself, the knowledge of right, wrong, good, bad, and that's what we mentioned about, which appears in a child at a certain age. And that is what makes a person responsible also of his deeds. You see, when that child grows further, then this becomes more deepened in him this knowledge of good, bad, wrongs, right, and then at that time, when we call he's the adult, Islamically, maybe at the age of 15 or something like that. So now, the point here, what I'm going to talk today is about that the knowledge, all other types of knowledge, the basic inherent ability, which is to analyze the information and come to certain results and conclusions, that is present already in human beings. So that's to say that all this is inside the person. It's not something coming from outside. This is the point to be remembered. It is in ourselves, inbuilt. This ability is there. And it appears at certain situations, circumstances, as the circumstances and the information come in, and these abilities, they come out. They appear. And that's why the talk which relates or connects this subject of ilm and aql to the faith, that's the part which is today, is the link. That's why it is said here, we can say that this verse which I recited, وَدَخَلَ رَبُّكَ مِنْ بَنِي آدَمَ مِنْ ظُهُورِهِمْ ذُرِّيَّتَهُمْ وَأَشْهَدَهُمْ عَلَىٰ أَنفُسِهِمْ أَلَسْتُ بِرَبِّكُمْ قَالُوا بَلَىٰ. This is the verse in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions that He created from Adam's offsprings, from their offsprings, the whole generations, and all were present. See, they were all there at one time. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asked them, am I not your Lord? And they all said, indeed you are. This was a witness taken from them. That's why it was mentioned, أَن تَقُولُ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ إِنَّا كُنَّا عَنْ هَذَا غَافِلِينَ. So that you don't say on the day of judgment that we were unaware of that. We are unaware that we have a Lord who is, that means what is this Rabb? Rabb is the creator, is the sustainer, is the provider, caretaker. This is Rabb. So there is the Rabb, who is our creator, who is our provider of all our needs, who is our sustainer, and that is the Rabb we have to worship. So, Alastu bi Rabbikum qalu bala shahidna. We are a witness of it. So now this witness which has been taken, it was not taken by, see, there's a difference. There it was no tongue. It was taken by the soul, from the soul. The soul expressed it. And so it is inherent in soul. This is there. It's available. It's hidden. So it is hidden in the soul, this knowledge of the Rabb, of the Creator. That is hidden. So it's nothing which will be brought from somewhere outside. And that's why Imam Ghazali mentions it is very appropriate to call it as a reminder. The prophets are the reminder of this thing which is in the knowledge of the man, which is in his intellect, hidden. That is only a reminder. So they don't bring anything which is not known to him. It is known to the person. It's only a reminder. What is a reminder? If somebody has witnessed something and then he forgets, say about the material, somebody has witnessed something and he forgets, then he is reminded of. Similarly, somebody whose nature, by nature he knows something and he has forgotten it, needs a reminder. So that's the difference between the two. This is a nature which has given us this insight in us. It is there. But with the passage of time, it needs to be reminded. And that's why there are reasons why some people are also more easy to remind, some are difficult to remind. This part, it is not in Ihya, but I will mention to you maybe next time, and then we will go to the next book. That why this ability or why this memory gets dim, and the person becomes dim-witted. The intellect fails here. It could be weak, so that it remembers after a lot of reminders, or maybe altogether gone and doesn't remember at all. You see, that's where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, سَوَاءٌ عَلَيْهِمْ أَأَنذَرْتَهُمْ أَمْ لَمْ تُنذِرْهُمْ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ. So you can remind them or you don't remind them, it's all the same for them. They are not going to believe. So that's a part of the person who is, in fact, So that's why we can say that there are differences in that too. So how much a person has forgotten and what is the reason for it, why it fades, and the person becomes dim-witted. Like as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions also in the same Surah Al-A'raf, لَقَدْ ذَرَأْنَا لِجَهَنَّمَ كَثِيرًا مِنَ الْجِنِّ وَالْإِنسِ لَقَدْ ذَرَأْنَا لِجَهَنَّمَ كَثِيرًا مِنَ الْجِنِّ وَالْإِنسِ لهم قلوب لا يعقلون بها لا يفقهون بها ولهم أعين لا يبصرون بها وعلهم آذان لا يسمعون بها أولئك كالأنعام بل هم أضل أولئك هم الغافلون. We have created for the hell many jinn and humans. They have heart, but they don't understand with it. And they have eyes, but they don't see with it. And they have ears, they don't hear with it. These are like animals. These are like animals, livestock. Walhum adal, but even worse than that. These are the ones who are heedless. So that is how it happens, why it happens. That's another very important subject, and I think it would be good to talk about it, although Imam in his book has not mentioned it, but the scholars have mentioned it elsewhere. Will be important to know how it happens and why it happens. But this is just for today, as it is mentioned from here. It is a reminder. That means the aql of a human being, which is the inherent ability in the man, he has inside that the memory of that witness which was taken by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that's why it is appropriate, as Imam Ghazali says, to mention that the Quran is a reminder. The Prophet is a reminder. So it's nothing new brought to them. It's a reminder for them. So that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions about the Quran that it is a reminder. وَلَقَدْ يَسَّرْنَا الْقُرْآنَ لِلذِّكْرِ فَهَلْ مِن مُدَّكِرٍ. We have made the Quran easy for reminding. And so is there anyone who takes heed? And similarly, there are verses, very beautiful verse in a small surah, Surah Al-Ghashiyah. If you remember in Surah Al-Ghashiyah, after mentioning certain things, that is to look around and see. There Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions أَفَلَا يَنْظُرُونَ إِلَى الْإِبِلِ كَيْفَ خُلِقَتْ وَإِلَى السَّمَاءِ كَيْفَ رُفِعَتْ. These continuous verses, I will not read all of this, but I'll mention to them after that, after learning about this, how this creation has been made, and how there is signs of greatness, and there is sign that there is a purpose behind it. All these things have a purpose, and therefore each one is fulfilling a purpose. And so similarly, and that is to recognize the Creator, and that's why to remember that covenant which was taken from the human beings, alastu bi rabbikum. So that's why it is at that I say fadakkir. After all that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says to Muhammad Rasulullah, fadakkir innama anta. So remind, you are only fadakkir innama anta mudakkir. So remind them. Remind means remind, O Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you are only a reminder. So that means you are not doing anything, you are just trying to remind them, which is there inside them. You are, and then the next verse says, you are not over them controller. So you are not going to be a controller, you are just a reminder. So this is just again just to mention that it is reminder. Why it is called reminder? Because it is inside the human being. It's not something brought to him foreign. See? And similarly also, I would say, in addition to it, that in the human beings, also the knowledge of the good and bad has been put by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that is mentioned, you all know that verse in Surah Al-Shams, وَالشَّمْسِ وَضُحَاهَا, in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, وَالنَّفْسِ وَمَا سَوَّاهَا, and by the human soul, and as it is created, or who created it. So that's وَنَفْسِ وَمَا سَوَّاهَا فَأَلْهَمَهَا فُجُورَهَا وَتَقْوَاهَا. فَأَلْهَمَهَا فُجُورَهَا, so soul, by the human soul, and as it was proportioned and inspired in it, wickedness, righteousness. You can say it's wrong and right, good and bad. So this was also inspired. So it is an inspired knowledge which is available to the mankind. So even the Sharia, the law, the rules, regulations which are brought, they are according to the human nature, which knows that these are good. Justice, reality, and so on. So all those qualities which are being mentioned, I'm not going in each one of them, but the human beings have a common, you can find out they all have a common knowledge of what is right, what is wrong, what is good, what is bad, and this is the big thing, and that's on which the Sharia is built, the laws even. So even not only the belief in Allah, but also the laws given to them are not foreign for them. Their nafs knows it. So this is how it's very important that about, particularly when we are talking about this year regarding the faith, so that the aql of the human being is aware of the Creator, and so it's only a reminder which the prophets bring and which the book brings. I mentioned you both about the Quran. Again, inna nahnu nazzalna dhikra wa inna lahu lahafizun. We have sent down this reminder, and we are going to preserve it. And similarly, وَلَقَدْ يَسَّرْنَا الْقُرْآنَ لِلذِّكْرِ فَهَلْ مِن مُدَّكِرٍ. We have made Quran easy as a reminder, or for reminder, or for reminding. So are there people who ponder into it? هَلْ مِن مُدَّكِرٍ. Is there anywhere the ones who will take the reminder, who will receive this reminder, accept this reminder? So that's how it is. So it's all as it is mentioned here, that these are things which are known to the human beings, and it is nothing foreign. It's nothing foreign. Now, in this respect, if you see also as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in a long detail about how Ibrahim alayhi salam convinced his people that they are worshipping wrong, or they have taken for God objects which are not supposed to be God. You see? And that's where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, كَذَلِكَ نُرِي إِبْرَاهِيمَ مَلَكُوتَ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. So that's how we showed to Ibrahim the kingdom of the heavens and the earth. And then you know that story. It's also a long one. I'm not going to all of that. But you remember that his people used to worship star, used to worship moon, sun, nature, you can say in some way. So he got one by one to each of them. لَمَّا رَأَى, when he saw one day the star, so he said this to make his people understand. هَذَا رَبِّي, this is my Lord. فَلَمَّا أَفَلَ قَالَ لَا أُحِبُّ الْأَفْلَ. Set, when it was set, he said, I don't like these who set. That means they are following command. They are following an order. They are not independent. They are not going by their own, basically, way. They are following someone's command. So it is setting and it's coming and setting, coming and setting. The same thing he said about the moon. فلما رأى القمر بازغا قال هذا ربي فلما فقال لئن لم يهدني ربي لأكونن من الضالين. And when set, he said, had my Lord not guided me, I would have been from among the misguided. And then فلما رأى الشمس بازغة قال هذا ربي. And when he saw the sun so bright, big, and this is my Lord. This is the big one. هذا ربي. فلما أفلت, it also said to his people, إني وجهت وجهي للذي فطر السماوات والأرض حنيفا وما أنا من المشركين. I have turned my face straight وَجَّهْتُ وَجْهِيَ لِلَّذِي فَطَرَ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ, towards the one who has created the heaven with complete submission. وَمَا أَنَا مِنَ الْمُشْرِكِينَ, I am not among those who associate partners with him. So that's how the logic that there is hidden in the mankind, the knowledge that there's a creator who controls the affairs of the universe and who provides the needs of the creation. And that is the one who deserves to be worshipped. And that is a reminder. And then these things, as also in this Surah Al-Ghashiyah, أَفَلَا يَنْظُرُونَ إِلَى الْإِبِلِ كَيْفَ خُلِقَتْ وَإِلَى السَّمَاءِ كَيْفَ رُفِعَتْ وَإِلَى الْأَرْضِ كَيْفَ سُطِحَتْ وإلى الجبال كيف نصبت وإلى الأرض كيف سطحت فذكر إنما أنت مذكر. Don't they see about these camels, how they have been built, how they are suitable for this type of place and region in which they can survive without water for many, many times, and they keep water. They are able to keep water for themselves and drink, and so on. So this is to ponder in the creation, how intelligent, how purposeful. It has a purpose, and everything is fulfilling a certain purpose. So the human being, and that's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned, that He created everything which is on this here on the earth is for us, for humans. And these are all reminders, so that he remembers that covenant which he has. Lastu bi rabbi rabbikum qalu bala shahidna. We be a witness. So that means that in the human intellect, in the human qalb, where the intellect is, the human intellect recognizes, it has inbuilt, and that's what is called fitrah. Fitratullahi fatara an-nas alayha. This is the fitrah of Allah on which Allah has created the mankind. This is the fitrah. The fitrah of human being recognizes the creator. And this is only the reminder. The book and the messengers are all just a reminder. And they are not bringing anything strange for them. They are bringing things which are in themselves. They recognize it and know it. So this is the very important aspect of this aql, that this aql of insan has the ability. It is hidden. It is there. It only needs a reminder. And the next time I would try to explain that part, that how this person, human being, forgets it or loses this, because we call it also as an insight. In English we say insight. That means you have this sight which sees outside world with the eyes. It needs also an outside light in order to see, because if your eye is well, good, but there is no light outside, you will not see the things as they are. May get mixed up and may think a rope to be a snake or snake to be a rope. So you need outside light. But you have a light inside yourself. The outside light only makes your inside light look and makes it clear to you. So it is similarly, you have that insight light which is called basira. That means the insight in a person. But that also, if the wahi comes, when the messengers come, when the book comes, they're reminders, and they shed light on it. So it is again a light in the heart which opens. And that's how everything, you see, the ideas, they all of a sudden come into the heart. Where does it come from? It is again, which is called, now we'll not go into that about wahi and ilham or those things, but ilham is something which comes, an idea that comes, which is the right thing, and that comes all of a sudden, springs in the heart. And a good idea, a correct idea, that all of a sudden comes in. That's ilham. And similarly, But the wahi is different, because wahi is very, very clear cut, that a messenger from Allah comes to the messenger. An angel comes, and the prophet sees the angel and hears the voice. So that's a very different thing. But ilham happens to the Anbiya as well, before they become a Nabi or even after. And it can be to anyone. And that is a guidance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It comes directly into the qalb, and it springs and it opens up, and it basically enlightens our intellect and gives us information and knowledge. And that's again very interesting part, is that knowledge which comes, every true knowledge is actually ilham. To whomever it comes, even Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, وَأَوْحَى رَبُّكَ إِلَى النَّحْلِ. Allah, all the creations, when the things which are, we call it instinct, they are actually ilham. Why the honey bee is always doing a certain perfect work, building such a fantastic structure, basically an engineering work of how precisely they are made, and then bringing stuff and putting into it and producing something very useful. It's also from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala giving this knowledge and this ability and this mission to a creature. So that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given to the human being, who is a much better creature, for whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made all these creatures and all this world, all the things which are on this earth. So that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guides him. So if a person is, his vision is clear from inside, insight is, through insight he can recognize Allah. And that's the work is to how to protect it and to polish it, so that we can have a better insight. So that's the part. We'll have some things in the book of this Iman, or the Qawaid al-Aqaid. I will not go into too much in detail in that, but anyway, we'll go through it a little bit. And that's why he has mentioned in the book Ihya Ulumuddin, because he talks about Iman and matters related to Iman. He talks about the Islam, that means all the acts, the outward act, whether it is of worship or it is of the customs and practices and all those things. And then in the first half book, it is, as I have mentioned before, and it's just always a reminder to recognize that the real part where we are actually going to focus more is the second half of the book, where it is about, because the outer part, the do's and don'ts are very clear and known to the people. This is halal, this is haram. Al-halalu bayyin, al-haramu bayyin. As the Rasul says, halal is clear and haram is clear. So, and the thing is that's why Imam Ghazali doesn't go into, for example, his book of Tahara, but he doesn't go in the details about how to make wudu and how to make ghusl when it becomes obligate. No, he goes and he names it Asrarut Tahara, Asrarus Salat, Asrarus Zakat. That means the hidden spiritual benefits in all these acts. That's what he talks about it. And that's why we'll probably touch very little about all these things gradually, and then we'll go. And similarly in the book of Adat, that means the customs and practices. I mean, how to eat, how to drink, how to make business, how to get married, how to separation, and all those things which are practical aspects of the life. But the main focus of ours would be about the part which relates to tazkiyah, the purification of the soul. And that is the last half of the book. And that is about the deeds which are hidden, which nobody can see it. And then there are the just as in the open deeds, in the apparent deeds, there are virtues and there are vices. Similarly, there are virtues and vices. The vices he has mentioned as destroyers, and the virtues he has mentioned as saviors. So that's where we'll go ultimately. gradually and slowly, inshallah. So today it was only this introduction part about how the basis of Iman is already in us, inbuilt in our intellect, in our qalb. And that's, and the prophets and the messengers are only a reminder. And that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions this in that ahad, in that covenant which He took from us while we are not having this body, we are not having this tongue. This witness was given by us, by our soul, not by our tongue. And of course, when we are given the tongue, there are people who are affirming that witness which they made to Allah, and there are others who are denying it. So after that, this is a different story. But next time I will try to explain you how this ability of the heart gets basically just like as our eyes get weak and they cannot see even if there is light. Similarly, our hearts get blinded and they cannot see, or they can become dim-witted and the vision goes bad, but gradually it opens up and works. So that's how this part, because it's related, and Imam Ghazali has not mentioned this, but I'll mention this inshallah next time, and then we'll go to the kitab, that next book, inshallah. That means the kitab, foundations of the faith. So, subhanallah, subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu. Alhamdulillah.